Last week, I posted a theory about one of the biggest mysteries in Five Nights at Freddy's, Midnight Motorist. And a lot of people liked the theory, but there was a fair amount of you that thought I may have lost my mind. I don't mind when people disagree with a theory of mine at all, as long as you're respectful about it, and I understand why some people did. Saying that Funtime Freddy captured and killed the crying child sounds insane. But like I said in the last video, I'm not trying to say my theories are 100% correct. I just like finding new perspectives on the lore that might get us one step closer to actually solving it. This video is just going to be a nice little add-on to last week's, showing you some new things that I found and explaining some things. So, need more proof? One of the biggest counterpoints that people kept telling me was that the toes just don't match. A 5-second Google search will tell you that Funtime Freddy has 4 toes, not 3. And in my theory, I said that Funtime Freddy was using an illusion disc to make himself look like Fredbear, who has 3 toes. But can an illusion cause the footsteps of an animatronic to change? Let me explain my reasoning for why I said this. Afton is known for being the guy who dresses up in the bunny costume to kill people. And if Afton really does come home after killing Charlie and is shocked that his kid is gone, that means that he couldn't have been the one to make the footprints, which means the footprints either have to be from an illusion or an animatronic that can walk on its own, period. And in the world of FNAF, and especially an 8-bit minigame that's supposed to be telling a story, why can't it be either or? I've seen people say that these footprints could be Shadow Freddy or Bonnie, which are illusions, or the Ghost of Golden Freddy, which is also an illusion. And those are all good and valid theories, because who else would it be? Afton is busy doing his own thing, and Henry couldn't have done it because Henry's not a killer, so like I said, it had to have been an illusion or an animatronic that can walk on its own. The 8-bit minigames in FNAF are meant to progress the story, just like this minigame in FNAF 3. I don't think these codes are actually carved into the walls of the FNAF 1 location, and in Sister Location, Elizabeth doesn't canonically die outside. The minigame is just meant to be metaphorical and progress the story. That's why I think we see 3 toes next to the bush. If my theory is correct in any way, and I'm not saying it is, but speaking of that, I've seen a lot of people point out the sound that occurs when the crying child gets bit, and I thought the same thing too. For reference, this is the sound. I thought that was really interesting because Elizabeth sounds very real. And the scooper isn't afraid to sound graphic either. And while the Bite of 83 does sound very robotic, so does Afton's death in FNAF 3. I also saw people saying that we saw blood in Afton's death scene, but we don't see blood during the Bite of 83 because he could be a robot. And I also want to dismiss that. Although we do see blood and gore in past minigames, I think choosing to add blood would have just been a little too far, even for FNAF. So although those are good finds and you can use them as evidence for yourself, I will not be in this video. I explained in my last video how the story of the Twisted Ones closely resembles what we see in Midnight Motorist, and the Twisted animatronics closely resemble what the Funtime animatronics are in-game. I connected the unmarked pile of dirt in the clearing to how the Twisted animatronics bury themselves during the day to come out at night to capture Charlie. I also told you that the Ultimate Guide was thinking the same thing as me, since it features the theory in the Midnight Motorist section. Well, let me point you towards the page where it talks about Count the Ways from the first Fazbear Frights book. Count the Ways is about a girl named Millie who willingly goes into Funtime Freddy's chest cavity to hide from her family. And in the Ultimate Guide, they add that Funtime Freddy and Count the Ways and the Twisted animatronics are connected. They do this by pointing out the illustrations in the Twisted Ones graphic novel, which, if you look closely, features these weird buttons surrounding the eyes of the animatronic. These buttons can also be seen on the animatronic we're trapped inside in Sister Location, which backs up my theory that this suit is a Funtime suit that has spring locks, meaning that the Funtimes, or at least a version of them, could have been around before the spring lock suits got decommissioned, which helps to explain why they're around so early in the timeline. At the end of FNAF 4, William tells the crying child, "I will put you back together." But this isn't the only time we've heard this phrase in this franchise. In the cutscene you get after Sister Location's custom night, you can see Michael talking to his father, William, saying that he put her back together, referring to his sister, Elizabeth Afton.
"Father, it's me, Michael. I found her. I put her back together, just like you asked me to."
So when William asked Michael to put her back together, what did he mean by that? Well, as we see in Sister Location, Elizabeth is already in a robot. She possesses Baby. All Michael does is help her escape so she can roam free in the real world through Ennard. But as we saw in the source code of ScottGames.com and FNAFWorld.com, Baby got voted out of Ennard. And Baby actually says something after she gets kicked out of Ennard. "I will put myself back together." This establishes to me that putting someone back together means taking a broken or trapped robot and literally putting it back together so it can now be free. So when do we see baby/Elizabeth again? In FNAF 6, featuring a new look because she literally put herself back together. But who else do we see in FNAF 6? We've got Scraptrap, aka William Afton, we got Lefty, aka Charlie, but then we have Molten Freddy, aka Funtime Freddy. Now we know that Molten Freddy is also Funtime Foxy and Ballora, but why would Scott choose Freddy to be the lead? If this really is the same Funtime Freddy that I think killed the crying child, that would make sense. The whole Afton family would be back together again. William, maybe Afton's wife if she possesses Ballora, Elizabeth, crying child, and Michael, who we play as. One big happy family. Wait.
One big happy family together again.
I'm not trying to say I'm right, but those would be some weirdly specific lines coming from a character who has no connection whatsoever to the Afton family. I don't know, it's just something to chew on. A lot of people said that the character encyclopedia that I cited in my last video also disproves my theory because Gregory is listed as human. And honestly, you're right. The only rebuttal I have is that if Gregory is actually the rebuilt version of the crying child, I don't think Scott would want to reveal that in a character encyclopedia. That also opens up a whole new can of worms about why this book was made now, but I won't get into that. But the sister location room being in security breach would fit in so well. The Immortal and the Restless TV mixed with the secret poem on the wall talking about breaking and mending and building the breath, and then referencing everything Gregory does in the game. I don't know. In a Steam post after FNAF 4 was released, Scott revealed that what's in the box is the pieces put together. He later said in the interview with Dawko that what's in the box has changed over the years. I believe that originally the box was a metaphor for all of the answers being revealed. There's nothing actually in the box, it's just all the answers, but as Scott said, would the community accept it that way? Maybe what's in the box after FNAF 4 changed to quite literally all of the pieces being put back together. Anyways, be nice to me and everyone else who has theories. They're just theories. I don't care what anyone says, and I promise I'm done talking about this theory now. At least on my channel.